This is Sam Rosen, and I'm here with Sam's Situation. It's a great night to be here. It's Christmas night. Not many of you are going to be listening right now, but I do hope tomorrow morning you'll be on your computers and ready to hear my beautiful voice.
Good afternoon and welcome into the corner. It's Chris's Corner here on Spreaker.com, a national sports affiliate. I am your host, Chris Sylvester.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Deep Sports Talk.
Hello and welcome to Jason's Sports Show. I'm coming back from a long hiatus.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Thank you for making us part of your day.
Now, the Rockets, what's very interesting to me is they're 14-12, which is a solid record. Actually, much better than I thought they would do. I didn't think Harden would really be a superstar.
In my opinion, this has been one of the best off-seasons in Major League Baseball history.
Out here in the fields.
This Colts team, you look at their talent, and I don't say, wow, this team is a Super Bowl contender. You know, they've got 15 Pro Bowlers. I mean, look at all this. No. But this team, I don't know if people take them for granted. I don't know what the case is. But they're comeback warriors.
You know, TCU, watching that game last night, TCU just looks like a team that can, in the very near future, contend for a Big 12 championship.
Really kind of, well, I think this was a good acquisition. So, you know, this guy, I think will get it done more than David Akers. David Akers is 29 for 42 this season. That's horrible.
In my opinion here, I think even if they don't put David Akers on the bench and they keep Akers in, it kind of ruins the confidence of the football players. Akers, too, I mean, look, I know this may be a silly thing now. I'm going really, technical here. But on the kickoff game, I have to say, Akers is one of the toughest kickers in the NFL. People say, oh, yeah, who gives a care about that? He's a pretty big guy, solid tackler for being a kicker.
Give me a break. You know who could turn it on in the playoffs, Robert? Take a wild guess. Tim Tebow. Last year, he won a playoff game. Who could turn it on in the playoffs? Tim Tebow. Give me a break. Yeah, let's put in David Akers. Let's go with the guy that has missed more field goals this year than any other kicker. Well, wait a minute. No, we can keep him on our squad. Let's forget about Billy Cundiff because he can tackle. Because he can save what the Niners have never given up this year, which is a kickoff return touchdown. Now, the Falcons at 4-0. They were in desperation mode with under a minute to go. The situation here trailing by a point with 50 seconds to go. Things worked out in Atlanta's favor. And if I was calling that play with the Roddy White catch down the sideline, here's just a little bit of what it would have sounded like.
Matt on first down, play action. Steps up, gonna sail it. Waits out there, and Roddy makes the at the 40-yard line. Holy.
That's all I have for you guys pretty much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please stick with the show. It's a show like the National Sports Station, as you can follow us here on Spreaker.com. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to my show. I hope that your 2012 year has been spectacular. Go National Sports, everybody.
Sorry for the long intro to our NFL training camp show, July in Review. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to bear with us here. We had a long intro, but we're set to go live on Spreaker.com. I'm joined by a couple of NFL analysts, guys that know a thing or two about the sport. It's Robert Dieters on one side, then I have Stephen Hughes on the other, and we'll bring our guest on first because a heated debate that has gone on for months continues to ravel on with this fraternity party. Just a couple days ago, University of Texas hosting that party, and Johnny Football was shown yet again making some big-time mistakes. Stephen, what are your thoughts about Johnny Football and his actions off the field more than on it so far during this past season?
First, thank you for letting me on, Nick. And about Johnny Football, and looks like he was the clean guy. He was
the face of Texas A&M, winning the Heisman, and winning the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma, all that kind of stuff. But, ever since then, his reputation has been going down with all the stuff that's been good that he's been, in with. At first he was getting the celebrity, profiling that, you're the first freshman Heisman Award winner, and, you should get that reputation, like, hey, this guy's a top-tier guy, he's one of a Hollywood celebrity and he's a college football player. But since he's been getting that, that reputation, he's been going down, honestly. The frat party he talks about at University of Texas, the YouTube videos about it, and all that stuff. Him wearing a Tim Tebow jersey, his parents are now worried for, Johnny and all the stuff that he's been through. Supposedly he's been on, therapy for anger issues and alcohol use. And then the main question for me as, John Manziel's, in a few months, turned from the best player in Texas A&M College Station to one of the least liked players now in the nation. And the question is, should John Manziel's, off the field issues be in attention to NFL teams that are looking to draft him in a couple of years when he's eligible for the draft? So that's my question right now. If he's really, going to have the maturity to, be an NFL quarterback at the next level.
Yeah, well, when we first saw these stories break out, it starts off with him missing camp, the Peyton Manning issue. It's just, sure, these situations aren't huge. We aren't facing any legal matters here, but we just continue hearing these stories. One drip at a time, just eventually the floodgates are going to break because this is a 20-year-old man that just doesn't get it. You don't hear the top quarterbacks in the league making these sort of plays. And now with this situation the way that it is, Robert, I bring it over to you, my other analyst, live on NFL Training Camps in Review. We're trying to bring this to an NFL statement here, and I'll send this question to you. Steven brought it up. Who do you think this is an NFL quarterback, a guy that will have success at the pro game, considering his immense talent cannot be missed, but his maturity level is really an issue here now for the 20-year-old former Heisman Trophy winner?
Hey, look, this is a situation where you have to look at it and say, hey, college guys make mistakes. There's partying that goes on. There's the frat life. They make that type of mistakes. If you're in college, I understand. You're the top quarterback. You want to have fun in college, but you got to think of what you're going to do before you do it. Exactly, going to a party, getting kicked out. People could post that on Twitter, Facebook, even have video cameras on him and just video cam you, and that's what happened to Johnny Manziel. Fortunately, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, wrong place at the wrong time, but I don't think this is big enough news to tell you the honest truth about Johnny Manziel. This just isn't too big for me yet. But, I mean, looking at the NFL, I think this just isn't – I don't think they should judge him because of this situation.
There's that famous saying that goes, typically when you want to dress for success, you want to present yourself in the job that you want to have. Now, typically there's a reason why the unemployment rate is so high for people being teenagers in early 20s. They just, sure, it goes with economy. It goes with the economy hand in hand with financial situations. But another part is maturity. There's a certain level of maturity that certain jobs want that people at that age don't necessarily have. Do we really think that at this time Johnny Manziel is dressing for the job he's going to have? Because listen, in 9 months, he's going to be in the National Football League, whether you like it or not. So I honestly think that he's not doing a really good job at all. And before we can blink, this guy may be a third or fourth round prospect with first round talent, but a guy that may do similar problems to Aaron Hernandez, someone who has a rap sheet of problems in his past and just seems to not get it in the college game. Gentlemen, do you agree?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But when you say that he hasn't done really anything criminal, I actually have to, counter-correct that. The year before, in June 2012, just last year, before his season winning year, he actually got arrested for 3 misdemeanors, which is disorderly conduct, failure to identify, and possession of a fictitious driver's license. He actually had a sentencing recently, about a few weeks ago, and it's a shame that it's not just started right now with all this craziness. It's beforehand with this arrest. It was really a big deal because he was going to be a freshman. He's an incoming freshman. We didn't know about him, and it was really a big deal. Coach, he's someone, he had something to say, and me did, but nothing really big. But now next year, when he gets kicked out of frat parties and, wearing Tim Tebow jersey, it's all over the news. So, one of the things, he is a criminal, in my opinion. He obviously was charged with 3 misdemeanors, but what he needs to do is really calm himself down. Supposedly, he's saying that, all this hype after winning the Heisman is really against him, and that's why he's angry so much. That's why he's overusing alcohol. That's bullshit, man. The hype is a good thing, and you're kind of abusing it in the wrong way.
Definitely, this is a situation that can go on for a while. Robert, any last thoughts on this situation?
Well, because of this whole situation, he's the biggest talk right now in front of everything. And also, as well as you said, Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was in a worse situation. His dad died, and I think that's what happened to him. He became that type of guy that now he's in court and everything about all of that situation with Aaron Hernandez. I really don't want to go into that, but let's go with this. He made a mistake. I know. He went to prison. This was before he went into college. It looks bad, because imagine you're trying to get into a college. You're on the medium borderline. You're just a regular student, right? You get in jail. You probably most likely just lost pretty much your call. You pretty much you lost yourself in getting that college, and you have to go to community college. This is a bad situation, but the way he plays on the field is how he's going to show if he really wants to, play in the NFL. I think that's how he shows himself for success at this point.
I mean, to be honest, both of these situations, I honestly, in my mind, think that not only for Hernandez, but for Manziel, if he ever wants to be a success in the NFL, he's going to have to change his act to the similar level of the class of 2013 Hall of Fame inductees. You like that transition there? There's a number of guys that were eligible for that class, and these were guys that promoted their game on and off the field. They were class acts, guys that you didn't hear were in fraternity parties, wearing different teams' hats, weren't missing passing camps. You didn't hear all this stuff off the field. Guys like Warren Sapp and Jonathan Ogden just went to work. There were 7 guys, just like every year, that were inducted into the 2013 Hall of Fame class, and out of these guys, we'll quickly segue to this because the enshrinement is in 4 days, and believe it or not, following that, we have some football guys. We are less than 10 days away from seeing some NFL football. I don't know if you have the list in front of you guys, but before we segue to other subjects here, I'm looking at guys that are in the Hall of Fame now and guys that are in a way duped, in a way don't really have a Hall of Fame resume yet. Out of the guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame, I don't know if you guys are aware, but do you have any players that you think come to mind that that are deserving of making the Hall of Fame and are eligible but just haven't had the nod as of yet? Do you guys have any idea?
Tim Brown would be a good one. I think he got snubbed this year, and he should be one, especially for Oakland. He did a lot for that team, and that's the only guy I can really think about at this point. But besides that, I think he's the only biggest snub right now.
There are a number of guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, but really haven't. I'm looking at guys like Ken Stabler, and until this year, it was Chris Carter as well. He finally made it into the Hall of Fame. But here's a quick question for you guys. It's been tossed around following McNabb's retirement. Do you believe McNabb should be in the Hall of Fame? We'll start with Stephen Hughes.
Honestly, I'm looking at this list, especially with Chris Carter, who has been rejected for a little while. I think that he was my main guy until this year. And, I'm trying to think of some names. But, Robert, you got anything to say? Because, in my opinion, it was Chris Carter. And I'm still thinking it's Chris Carter, but I haven't really gone over the fact that he's officially a Hall of Famer. And, congratulations to him for deserving.
That is going to be a really nice ceremony, by the way, for Chris Carter. That is a must-listen. That guy, on and off the field, was just an entertainer. He was a fourth-round pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he just came to play. He was a fantastic receiver, along with Tim Brown, who isn't in the Hall of Fame. I think those two are 1A and 1B as far as talent goes. And then for the McNabb situation, I honestly, that's a situation that you can go on and on about. I don't think McNabb should be in the Hall of Fame because you look at guys that are on the bottom of the Hall of Fame, and when people start talking about guys that that are borderline Hall of Fame that people think about putting in, I think when we bring guys like McNabb into the Hall of Fame, when people start saying this guy like McNabb should be in the Hall of Fame, then you bring up the question of, well, if McNabb's in the Hall of Fame, why are guys like Tony Romo not in the Hall of Fame, or Phillip Rivers not in the Hall of Fame? Similar production. So when you bring in a guy like McNabb, then you have that similar situation where you're bringing in the bottom of the Hall of Fame list when there's still guys like Tim Brown on the ballot that haven't been in yet. Just an interesting situation. It's been brought up around NFL talks for the last week. McNabb announcing his retirement a few days ago, signed a one-day contract and retired as a Philadelphia Eagle after an illustrious career for the 13-year quarterback. Just a fantastic stint for that QB. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's one of those guys that was always really good, but not great. He always gave you a chance, but didn't put you over the top. And in my mind, I think that may be a similar situation to Robert. We'll get to this later on, but there's a number of quarterbacks that are really good in the league, but that aren't going to really take that next step into the next level, including guys like, I believe, like Peyton Manning, maybe Colin Kaepernick, guys like that have been very good, but just aren't going to be elite. I don't believe so. So we'll move on to other NFL topics. We're trying to recap this July of NFL football. Injuries have been a huge part of this. Month. Absolutely, there have been a number of crucial injuries. Statistically, week number 1 of training camps are the most dangerous by far of any week in the NFL. And you can just ask certain NFL teams that are trying to vie for Super Bowl aspirations, but have had some big-time miscues, including Percy Harvin out of Seattle. A huge blow for that organization. He probably won't be back until the postseason, but that's a huge blow. And for a team like the Niners, Robert, who's in the NFC West as well, how big of a loss is that for Seattle that's giving the Niners now an extra chance to get a head up in that division?
Don't get your hopes up yet. I mean, the Niners still don't have Crabtree at this point. He's still injured. He's coming back at the end of the season, but so far, Vernon Davis, so far I've heard has been tried out at wide receiver for a couple of plays. AJ Jenkins has to step up this year. We got Anquan Bolden, Mario Manningham, and, just some guys that really got to step up this year. We also have a rookie tight end. I forget his name, but I know he's going to do pretty well. But, the Seahawks are going to be the same exact team as they were last year. This team was still pretty good. You have Golden Tate, Sidney Rice, Russell Westbrook, Marshawn Lynch. You still have that whole offense, and I think they can still do something in this league. I can't count them out yet. This team did beat the Niners last year, and they also did lose, so they split it 1-1. I think these are two competitive teams. I can't wait to see the NFC West be so competitional this year. The Rams are going to be a sleeper team for me in the NFC West. But going to Percy Harvin, that's a big blow for this team, especially losing your first-round pick. That's... just the Vikings just did their homework on that one, and Vikings don't look that bad right now, especially with Percy Harvin now getting injured, and now they get the first round pick, and we'll just see what happens. I mean, this NFC West is going to be very competitional, and I can't wait to see Colin Kaepernick play. He's got biggest talks, and I know Steven isn't the biggest fan of him, but we just can't wait to see what happens.
Another NFL injury as well, adding on to the Harvin injury. Vikings certainly did their homework there, but the Broncos trying to do their homework, bringing in extra centers to back up who was also another injured center. So they bring in Dan Copen to start for the Denver Broncos this year, and he ends up injuring his ACL. He's out for the year. How big of an injury, Stephen? I don't know if you have much background with the Broncos staff, but how big of an injury is their center over in Denver?
It's pretty serious. There's an ACL injury. You're gonna miss time, and it's just gonna be a big blow. The Broncos are trying to keep guys as best as possible after having a great year. It's actually a tear of the ACL he's out for the year, but like I said, they're trying to keep every single guy back in. They're trying to keep the chemistry together. Obviously, a lot of help with Stevenville because of the contract mishap that his agent had with the Broncos in the NFL. And then Stevenville chooses the Ravens to go during free agency during the offseason. But, if it's obviously it's an injury, and they can't really go for the backup, so they have to definitely go for free agency. But, anything could go, in the offensive line's way, it can be a good thing, it can be a good plan B, or you feel really bad, plan B, and that your man's going to be hurt a lot, possibly with a lot of sacks. The, poor performance in the offensive line. And that could be a problem, especially with Danny's history of problems with health, especially a couple years ago with his severe neck injuries.
Definitely a huge blow for the Broncos. You're talking about Peyton Manning makes those audibles. He's done it his entire career, coaches the offense. Well, that center has to make adjustments on the blocking scheme based off of what Manning reads in the secondary. If he reads a blitz off the right side, Copen has to make that adjustment. He's the guy, similar to Jeff Saturday in his long stint in the with the Colts. He had to make his adjustments as well based off of the audibles of Peyton Manning. A huge blow to the Broncos. Now you're bringing in a guy who wasn't even taking snaps for the first or second team. Now he's starting for the Broncos this year, and he has to make some big-time adjustments. I can't put my name on the current starter, but that's a huge blow for the Broncos. Similar for the Ravens now. We're looking at a team with 8 starters from the Super Bowl run that will not be a part of the team. We're looking at Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, who retired obviously. Ed Reed over to Houston. Donnell Ellerbe no longer with the team. We're looking at Anquan Bolden not going to be there. And then we also look at the injuries now. There's Dennis Pitta out for the season with a huge injury that will hamper their tight end squad. They bring in Visante Shenko to help. But we'll bring it over to Robert one more time. How big of an injury is this for the Ravens? And do you think this is a playoff team, or do you think this is a rebuilding process for Ozzie Newsome and that Baltimore squad?
Oh, man. Yeah, the Ravens really just not doing well, and they just don't look good. I mean, especially now. I mean, you really don't have Anquan Bolden anymore. You don't have Ed Reed. You don't have Ray Lewis. They lost some really big-time guys. This team I think they have 10 new guys starting out for the starting position at this point. And, Joe Flacco needs to really, he's got to help this team out. He's the star QB, the guy that got a really big contract after the Super Bowl win. And we're just going to see what happens. I mean, Pitta was okay. He was an okay big part of the offense. I mean, he wasn't that big, but he was big enough to make an impact.
Yeah.
They did, I believe they did sign someone else. They signed another tight end.
Visante Shenko. You got that?
Sean, yeah.
I mean, he's going to be, See, the thing is, the Ravens are no longer to have that middle part of the field. You saw in the Super Bowl, their red zone opportunities, there was Bolden in the end zone right over the middle, and also there was Pitta making his plays over the middle of the field. Now their strength during the Super Bowl run turns into a weakness. That's a huge misstep for the Ravens. Now, in the draft, I think they did a solid job. Newsom seems to put in guys, replace talent with talent. But, Steven, we'll give you about 30 seconds here. Are the Ravens a playoff team, yes or no?
Well, with the money that they're spending on Joe Flacco to lead this team, I think they will be. They lost a lot of key guys. They lost Ray Lewis, who's probably the big key guy. I think Bolden, Dennis Pitta's injury. But I think that this year the Ravens are just going to squeak by, possibly to a wild card spot, and with any possibility they can get the division, they could probably do so. But they'll need probably a late season push to get that done, because I think they have a struggle, adapting to the fact that they're going to have a big target on the back because they're defending Super Bowl champions.
As we saw with Albert Hazensworth years ago, money doesn't exactly mean wins. We'll see. But it looks to be Joe Flacco is the only main portion of that team. You can argue about Ray Rice, but it's if Flacco goes down, so do the Ravens. And Ray Rice is a huge part, but it's all about that offense, and it starts with the quarterback. The offense, along with the head coach, is going to have to take charge this year if Baltimore wants to have a chance. Best case scenario, I think, for Baltimore is they go 8-8. I think Pittsburgh wins that division, and the Bengals possibly get the wild card spot in the AFC, and we are just waiting to see how that division unfolds. We're looking at the Steelers. People are saying they are just too old. They haven't brought in enough pieces. Jarvis Jones is a future bust. And we're just looking at a number of key portions of the Steelers offense that people argue is taking a step backwards. But in my mind, I'm just going to quickly contend that the Steelers went 6-3 with Ben Roethlisberger before he went down. If there's a healthy quarterback under center for the whole year in Roethlisberger, I think the Steelers have a shot to post up 10 wins at least. Because this is a very solid team that just doesn't have the health concerns of their quarterback with that offensive line so below average. But also, you bring back Pouncey, who was injured last year, and now that improves the offensive line dramatically. There's your center. Similar situation for Copen. The Broncos may have a huge loss with their center being out for the year. We're getting going here on the NFL Training Camp Show. We're trying to recap the month of July around the National Football League. I'm joined by Robert Dieters and Stephen Hughes. And obviously appreciate you guys for joining us here on Spreaker.com presentation. And guys, this has been a really interesting month as far as injuries go and as far as finally getting some football. We're finally getting in that month of August. And we're getting some NFL football in the coming days. What are you guys looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to just watching some football. I just can't wait to see what happens, with the Niners. Can they come back and make a Super Bowl run again? Can they maybe win this time?
Come on now, man. No one's interested in the Niners.
Hey,
the Seahawks are going to be a huge underdog team. Sure, many people are looking at them right now, but that defense is only getting better with so many guys that are so young. Cam Chancellor in that secondary, that's like the hardest hitting cornerback and safety team. That secondary is going to be so good this year.
Okay, let's first talk about your Chargers.
What are you talking about? The Chargers are going to suck anyways. The Chargers do not have any pieces like the Seahawks do. Honestly, I don't see the Chargers even getting an 8-8 record. I'm just flat out say your Niners will do a better job than my Chargers.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean. But,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the standings from last year. Now, looking at it, I'm looking at the NFC South, and you have you got the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints. I think the Saints can turn around next season, especially with their head coach back from that suspension. That whole
True. The Falcons will be good, but we're looking at wild card teams though too. And the Carolina Panthers, I think, can make a huge push. Same with the Saints. I think that could be the division to beat in the next couple of years. We're looking at the Saints. They were 7-9 with no coach. And now you plug in Rob Ryan to help that defense, and you plug in back Sean Payton. There's your emotional leader. That's like putting in a Ray Lewis in your locker room every week. The Saints will be good. Jimmy Graham's only getting better. Same with Drew Brees. And then the Panthers, they had an off year, and they still posted up 5 wins with like the worst defense. And Luke Kuechly's getting better. You're having Cam Newton, who's finally maturing a little bit, 3rd year in the league. And I think the NFC is going to be such a better division, far and away, than the AFC. I think the NFC is going to run the door out with some big time records versus the AFC. I mean, this will be a really interesting year, Robert, in the NFL. There's a lot of intriguing headlines, a lot of injuries, and we're just getting going. We haven't even seen any preseason action. We're already looking at injury reports, and we're already looking at another NFL season. I mean, this is what you live for, right?
Right, and, I also want to go to the NFC East, New York Giants and Redskins. I think the Redskins could probably get 11 wins this year besides 10. I think they'll go up a little bit more.
I think that they're going to be a good team with Shanahan another year in that scheme, but I don't even think RG3 will make a whole year again. I think he's a very injury-prone quarterback. I mean, look at his knee. Like, look at all the precautions we're putting on a guy that just got injured less than a half year ago. We'll have to wait and see. And by the way, Steven has been completely non-existent last 10 minutes. But this is going to be a very interesting NFC East, too. Who do you think's winning that division, by the way?
I feel like what Tony Romo said about confidence, his confidence in the Cowboys this year, especially the fact that he's getting a lot of money, he's getting back players that, he thinks he can be a championship caliber team. But honestly, at the end of the day, I gotta go with the Redskins. They're gonna be consistent this year.
Yes.
The Cowboys, the pressure's gonna be too much for them. And for the Eagles, they're hype with the quarterback situation. I don't know why it's the quarterback situation.
Don't Eagles. No.
How do you feel about the Eagles?
They'll be okay. I mean, listen, we're not going to have a 34-year-old Michael Vick win more than 6 or 7 games. Let's just be honest. We've seen the best out of the best with Vick, and that was 6, 7, 8 years ago. We're not seeing Vick making another comeback player of the year kind of performance. And then we're going to put Nick Foles at quarterback too, a guy that hasn't really started more than a handful of games. Honestly, it comes to the Giants, who have a better running game with Wilson in his 2nd year, and then it comes to the Redskins if they have their quarterback start all 16 games. If the Redskins have their quarterback, they win that division. If not, it's going to be the Giants, because they have too good of a receiving core, and that offense is too good, and to have any sort of a miscue this year. Honestly, those are my thoughts. But I think the Giants will win strictly because RG3. We have seen such. This kid just is. He's a twig running around in that backfield. He's going to get hurt. Like, honestly, for the scrambling quarterbacks, the thing I worry about most are the guys that are so thin like RG3 and take the shots that he does. That's why guys like Kaepernick and Cam Newton are in the league a lot longer, and you don't see them on the medical report because they are much bigger guys. No one wants to tackle that. Have you ever played? It's like when you're playing tackle football out on the out in the park, when you're playing some holiday football or whatever you guys play. Similar situation there. If you're seeing a big 250-pound guy running right at you, you're not going to tackle him the same way that you tackle a guy that's significantly lighter than him. I mean, it's just common sense here. We're looking at a guy in RG3 that's going to take shots. We saw that 3 or 4 times. We saw his leg get bashed around multiple times, especially in that game where Kirk Cousins had to go in twice. I think it's the Giants' division to lose.
Okay. I want to bring up something just kind of a little bit random, but, you know, I feel like I need to get this off my chest. And it's that the Buccaneers are going to be the dark horse to, you know, make it to the NFC title game. Now, they really bumped it up during the offseason in getting Darrell Revis and Deshaun Wilson to bolster their, you know, their secondary on the defense side. They'll be at it with Mark Barron, who's probably going to possibly lose his job to one of those two guys. Because, you know, this team is just getting better. They signed Mike Williams to a new contract. They have Doug Martin, who is going to be in his second year, and he's going to prove to be one of the, you know, up and running, probably up and coming running back to the NFL. And then Josh Freeman, all he has to do is be consistent.
Do you think he's the answer, though, Josh Freeman? Do you think that's the guy that's going to win them games and get them to the championship?
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, I think so, because it's his team on the shoulders on the offensive side. He's the reason why the Buccaneers are going to win the games and lose the games. It's not going to be Doug Martin, because he's just carrying the ball captain.
But I mean, like, is he the answer, though? Like, is he going to be the guy that's going to resurrect his career in Tampa Bay? Like, we've seen some really bad play. Is he going to turn it around?
Yeah, I think he's going to turn it around. I think that he knows that he needs to step it up, and he needs to have a great training camp to really, you know, show the coaches that him, other NFL analysts that, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are able to team to be in the NFC West. They're probably NFC West, NFC South. Just the roster has really gone up a bit, and most people, like what you're saying is about the roster bunching up. It's more of Josh Freeman's performance, and I think this year's the year where, you know, he has to step it up, and I think he will. With, you know, the better team coming in, the better team from last year, and I think that they could possibly win at the most 12, 13 games. Honestly, this team looks very, very content and very good enough to, you know, be a team to be out there in the NFC South. And they have a particularly easy schedule.
Absolutely. I think Robert has something he's trying to get off his chest, too. Robert, what do you have?
Okay, so Josh Freeman is his final year of his contract. He has to prove to the Buccaneers that he wants to stay in Tampa Bay. He has to make pretty much a playoff run, I think, to save his job right now at this point. I mean, these guys were 7-9 last year, a team that I think could have done a lot better, in my opinion. And, you know, Vincent Jackson, the wide receiver, I think is pretty good. As Steven said, Doug Martin, I mean, he runs the ball, but I think he'll make a big impact as well. I think the offense just really has to click. Yes, Deshaun Goldson is a big upgrade for him, stealing them from the Niners, unfortunately, but whatever. So, I mean, you know, I think this team could really prove themselves, and Josh Freeman has really got to get a wild card spot.
One thing I do want to add to this, too, is that the Buccaneers were last in the NFL in pass defense, and they also were one of the worst overall in the defensive category. They were like bottom 5 all year long. Add in Deshaun Goldson.
That's the reason why they got Darrell Revis to be aggressive.
And Darrell Revis, right.
They gave a first-round pick to Darrell Revis, and their first pick in the draft was Jonathan Banks, a quarterback from Mississippi State. So they're obviously concentrating on what you're saying from their stats from last year. They're concentrating on the defense, especially from the secondary and defensive back side, because you just said they're allowed to stay up no passing defense.
They are all in for this coming year. The Buccaneers are.
Yeah, definitely.
At least a chance, at least a playoff spot, barring some huge injury in a key spot for the Buccaneers. Very interesting point.
Also, I have to say, I don't really know what's going to go on with Darrell Revis. I haven't seen him play in more than a year because of his ACL or knee injury that he suffered to end his season last year against New York, but you know, the Buccaneers are taking a risk. I think it's going to be a good one. And I think, like I said, 4 13 wins. But I think possibly this is going to be their division to lose as well. It's going to be, if the injuries come back to hurt them, they could be possibly an 8 to 9-win team. Because their talent's up there, up the charts. Anyway, similar to, the Giants, but they're underrated, so they don't, have all the pressure of, sports center and NFL Now to really get to them. I think that they're going to be the team to be in the NFC South.
Absolutely. Also, we're taking a look at, while we're on the topic, dark horse teams. I think the Buccaneers, I think we can all say the Buccaneers in the NFC. Can you guys make the same contention? AFC, the Dolphins, maybe the dark horse team. They were 7-9, just like the Buccaneers. But I think they were the most improved team, 2 or 3 in the AFC as well. I mean, you're looking at a team acquiring Donnell Ellerbe to help out that defense. Tannehill's in another year. You acquire Mike Wallace as well. I think the Dolphins will be a very good team. And you look at that division, took a big-time hit this season with all 3 teams having their hits on the offensive side. We're looking at the Jets, can't figure out their quarterback. The Patriots, I mean, that offense, probably the least talented team in the entire division. We're looking at offensively, outside of the quarterback, of course. And then, are we really considering anyone else in that division to take a hit? So I think the Dolphins may be a huge dark horse team. Huge.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking that the Dolphins, with their improvement on the offensive side, kind of similar to the Buccaneers, like you say, in the AFC. I think that the big signing of Mike Wallace probably going to be the reason why they're going to get a wild card spot out of the AFC East. I think that they'll need about 9 wins to possibly contend for a playoff spot. They'll definitely need double-digit wins to get that playoff spot if they want to. And I think Ryan Tannehill this year is going to be shaking off the rust from his rookie year. I think it's going to really come up big this year. And, give to the Dolphins offense a lot of life, and then it comes down to the defense if they can perform. But I would really like to see what's going to be going on with the Dolphins as they head to the Hall of Fame game against the Cowboys very soon, actually.
I think Mike Wallace is a huge acquisition. He's a potential Pro Bowl player for that AFC, because we're looking at a conference that doesn't really have any big-time receivers. I think Mike Wallace is a huge, huge acquisition. So Dolphins, hands down, the dark horse team of the AFC. NFC, it's going to be Buccaneers over in that conference as well. Thank you guys for joining us on NFL Training Camp Show July in Review. We're wrapping up here our final few seconds on the Spreaker.com presentation. A fantastic month, but we have another interesting month to come in the month of August as we begin preseason week number 1, August 8th, around the National Football League and the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. Just 4 days away. Final thoughts, guys, on another month of NFL football.
Just can't wait for the season to come. Fortunately, some big things have happened there. Hernandez's situation has been the biggest for this football league, and you feel bad for him. I've heard all the Patriots speak about, especially Tom Brady, saying, you don't want to be that guy that you want to be a part of the media, and he said that I just don't want to, be a part of the problem, a part of our team. He always wants to be the solution. He always wants to help out the team.
Well, I took a pay cut.
And, no, he's not going to take that. But, he's just a good guy, and, talking about Hernandez. And,
Hernandez.
Didn't really, just said general comments saying, focused on football, ready to go. Unfortunately, that whole situation that, that's just been really bad, especially now the wide receivers, tight ends getting hurt, and, the Eagles getting hurt by it, Seahawks getting hurt by it, and the Ravens. So, just a month that you need to forget and a new month to move on.
It's going to be a huge month in August. We're going to see preseason action. We're going to see guys come up from the rough to make their preseason impacts. A number of rookies making their debuts, including the number 1 overall pick, Eric Fisher, will be in the spotlight coming this month. It's August. It's the last day of July coming up, and then we're getting set for a big-time month in August. For Robert Dieters, Stephen Hughes, this is Nick Rice joining you live from NFL Training Camp Show. It's July in the books, and we're getting set for a new month. So signing off from Spreaker.com, thank you for joining us. Make sure to tune in Spreaker.com all this coming week as we have more shows coming to you as LA Sports Broadcasting Camp gets going live in Los Angeles. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to tune into Spreaker, and we'll see you next time.